Welcome to something a little different. This is a birthday reward cast, actually, and it's been cashed in for this fella here in the bottom left. A real quick happy birthday to Jack as he spawns in as the purple Protoss, a Flimicon. And it's like Artosis says, he's a Protoss. Lasers come naturally to him. His opponent on the ladder spawns to the upper right, the Red Terran, Warcraft. We're gonna call him Warcraft. I guess it's close enough with a PH. That's my assumption anyways. So TVP comes at us in the form of, again, a very bit of a different cast. And we're gonna maybe play a little bit of biased favorites here towards purple. But a Flimicon, your friend has requested and paid for this replay. So I hope I can do it some justice, and I hope you enjoy the show. Truthfully though, I don't know what to really say about this because I don't know these players very well, and I don't know what league they even come from. So we're truly going into this with a bit of a blind cast. But I do know one thing, and this matchup can be a little wild. I think on the pro level, we're seeing a lot of all-ins out of Terran more than Protoss nowadays. And if Protoss can survive the early aggression from Terran, typically they have a better mid to late game. But I'm not here to balance wine, and I'm not here to say this, that, or make predictions. We are just simply going to watch this ride and see how it plays out. One thing I'll note right off the bat, though, for Mr. Flimicon is he's gone for a wicked sick build. 3 gateways, not on proxy. 4 gateways, not on proxy. A Flimicon, I don't know how you managed to sit at your computer with balls as big as yours, but I'm excited to see what you plan to do with this. There are jokes to be made, but this is actually something that can be incredibly annoying for a Terran to deal with if they go CC first. I want to point out, this wasn't CC first, but it was a pretty quick command center. But it's pretty clear Warcraft over here has had his fair share of bad games against Protoss on the ladder because he's building this on the high ground, which, to be clear, I do not believe you need to do, but this is the evidence of a wounded animal. A small bird that has been batted away by the cats and is licking its wounds and says, I will never let that happen again. So he built a command center in the main base. And as silly as this is, it is technically safer to do, especially against what specifically a Flimicon is opened with here. If this was on the low ground, for sure, even if there's Reapers and stuff defending, oh, there's a Marauder follow-up to this. There's a lot of words I have for that, but we'll save those words for another time, because my mama always taught me if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. But if this was on the low ground and there were Zealots charging across the map, I can totally see how that might be a problem for the Terran, so I understand a little bit why this is on the high ground, but I feel like this is definitely not the most ideal way to do this. In fact, the command center's been aimed over here. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is not super pro play. So it called a gut feeling, if you will, but this command center has missed the mark by a fair bit, unless this guy is going for the big brain plays where he wants to go all the way around and so nobody sees him. Oh bugger, though, that doesn't seem to be the case. Well, Marauders are being made. Combat Shield is being researched for them. Oh no, I can't do this cast. I'm not gonna be able to do this one. Seriously, I'm so sorry, Mr. Jack. I'm gonna be too busy dumping on your opponent to give you any praise in this cast. Because for those who don't know, Combat Shields provides no benefit to Marauders whatsoever. It is, however, right next to a button that does provide benefit to Marauders, and that would be Stimpack. So whether it was a misclick or a misunderstanding of his units, funny enough, this will work out pretty poorly. Zealots are really good against Marauders. Shredding him to bits, the Flimicon takes, well, frankly, a really good start. There's nothing left that defends this. The depots need to be raised. If the depots are raised, the SCVs can out-repair the damage of a Zealot, but command center down here has 3 SCVs queued instead of being an orbital. Loads in 1. Okay, Warcraft, you got some bonus points back. Loads in the SCV, cancels the rest to save it, lifts up the command center, and these Zealots will not get a free kill on the command center. But a Flimicon's attack hasn't ended, and he's looking to do some damage to the depots. I personally am of the opinion falling back would be the right choice here, but with no SCVs repairing the depots, this might just open up And I would say this would supply block him, but he's so far behind on supply right now, it doesn't. Meanwhile, for our good boy, our birthday boy of Flimicon back at home, he's continued teching up a little bit. He has not taken a Nexus yet, but he's starting to now. However, I do appreciate the fact that he's gone for the Twilight Council. Whether it's for Charge, Blink, or whatever, his upgrades are being prioritized. So we're seeing +1 weapons, which, to be fair, in pro play, you expect armor first a lot of the time, unless you're going for very aggressive units like a Colossus or something that benefits from weapon upgrades. In this, I'm going to assume lower league game, I actually don't mind the weapon upgrade first. This could help quite a bit in the early game, especially if Charge is the combo that comes out of the Twilight Council. Meanwhile, for Warcraft, they've not really established too much of a follow-up. There's no starboard that's been started. Their gas is low, their minerals are high, and they have idle SCVs. Frankly, this should have been an orbital a minute ago. So this is a lot of missed opportunity for our Terran, and they will be playing a tougher game as a result of this. And frankly, from behind. Getting supply blocked once again. 46, I know that number way too well. I hate it. 46 is like the worst number to get supply blocked on. Been there, done that. But like a third or fourth CC, he could actually, with the minerals he has, start up 2 command centers that would not only unsupply block him, give him potential viable expansions. But we're not going to expect too much out of Warcraft here. But we are going to keep an eye on, though, as what Flimicon's next plan is. Like predicted, he is going for Charge, and I think this is a really smart move, especially considering what's been revealed so far in play. Not to mention, just generally speaking, Charge lots are really good against things like tanks and Marauders. They're even good against Marines to an extent. The thing that makes Marines and Marauders good, though, are medevacs, not necessarily just like the Marines and the Marauders. So, again, highlighting that there's no starport, and he's now stuck on 54 supply, another number I know all too well. It's just painful for our Terran. Granted, Flimicon's in a bit of a funky spot. He's not made that many probes, and I will say, just as a word of encouragement to him, if he watches this later and hasn't turned off the VOD already, usually you tend to overproduce probes with the idea that you're going to transfer them down. This is actually something Alpha Star even picked up on, which was kind of cool when we were casting those Alpha Star games back in the day. But yeah, having extra probes oversaturated in the main is totally fine, because you'll move 9 of them down to the natural by the time this is finished up. So other than that, honestly, for what the build is, and I'm not going to try and pretend like this is an amazing top tier level build, he's got his production out. He's not floating 1,000 to 2,000 minerals like his opponent. I'll give a Flimicon credit where it's due. He's building a lot of units. And I think most consistently you'll see coaches and other people or friends who are just trying to help you get better at the game. They'll tell you, just macro, just spend your money. Don't find yourself floating thousands of minerals like our Terran is at this point. So I will give 2 big thumbs up to Flimicon. The fact that he's not floating money makes me a very happy camper. And he's also got a really large standing army as a result. Now, on the other side of the map, Warcraft is trying to figure out what he wants. And so far, the answer has been everything except Stimpak. He completed combat shields for the 4 Marauders he opened with. He has followed up with Concussive Shell, which benefits said Marauders, of course, and even gone for Magfield Accelerator, an upgrade that will benefit exactly 0 of the units that he has in play. But now Stim started. Tanks are pretty good on the defense. Not shooting the Stalkers. Zealots charge forward. A Flimicon blocking his old army in. Oh, making it very difficult to get up here and maximize his damage. But even then, all he's got to do at this point is walk into the dead zone of those tanks, bring those Stalkers forward just a little bit so the tanks cannot fire back. And he will clean this up and then consequently kill the SCVs. He loses some more Stalkers, though, due to a bit of complacency on his part. And right now, Warcraft has nothing. And I'm going to pause this to say I have absolutely no idea how this is going to end up being a 25-minute game from this point. But I'm so excited to find out. So, somehow this game doesn't end right here. And SCVs get pulled into the Zealots. They'll hold off maybe a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, this has done a really big damage and blow to the economy. A lot of workers have gone down through this. And in other circumstances, this might even be tap out territory. But if Flimicon's own macro, while I was praising it before, has fallen off, and I think he's suffered from a little bit of tunnel vision, as he's so focused on the front line, he's not warping in off of those many 8 gateways that he has. Now starts spending some of his money, but I mean, this should have, would have, could have already been sorted. I will give credit to Warcraft, though. He's finally built a Cyclone so he can make use of the Magfield Accelerator he invested in, which is a great early game unit. But we're already we're 10 minutes deep and we're past the early game. So we're no longer in a situation where these are going to be king. But to be clear, Cyclone damage is always going to be pretty good. Anyways, while there's no thirds in sight for anybody, we do see Warpins coming off of cooldown. We see Liberators starting up for Warcraft. And if a Flimicon goes for Blink, those... Oh my god, I love... This is like Stream Raiders. I love the layering of his units. He's got the tanks on the front line and the range behind it. I want this guy on my Stream Raiders team. Like, legit. Jack, join us on stream sometime. But without Blink, it's going to be a little bit difficult to burn those Liberators. Now, because Warcraft... Wait a minute. I got to go back for a second. Hang on. Rewind just a few seconds here. How many scans was that? Okay, that's one. Hang on, we're gonna watch his point of view. Did he? I think he burned 3 scans.
SCV ready.
No, did I misunderstand? Did I missee that? I didn't rewind. Oh, I didn't rewind enough. I think he used 3 scans. I don't want to rewind again. I'm pretty sure he used 3 scans. And to me, this would be unacceptable in most situations, but because he's floating nearly 3,000 minerals, I guess it's okay, because there's no point dropping mules, right? In fact, he's almost mined out of his main base. All right, well, Liberator's getting rallied around. This will lead to Liberator range. And I just want to point out, no matter what league of the game you're in, whether it's Grandmaster or whether it's Silver, it's never fun dealing with Liberators that have range. It's really abusive, and there's some good spots on this map you can totally take advantage of, but not around the mineral patches, actually. These are really deep set in. Just in case anyone is unaware of this, this was actually a map trend that started shortly into Legacy of the Void, because it used to be mineral patches like this that are always very close to the edge of the map. And then we realized that if you do this, Liberators are just king. So map makers started making maps with that in mind. There's some rules, I think, when it comes to map design in StarCraft 2. The number 1 rule is you can't make anything sentries can break, and you can't make anything nowadays that Liberators can abuse either. So that's why it's been very subtle, but there's been a lot of very core map design philosophy change over the years, and I don't know, I think it's kind of a cool fact, so I'm just sharing it here. Oh. Okay, so that's 4 robos coming out, while the other player is building a nuke. This has officially become the wildest game of StarCraft 2 I've seen in a long time. And I have very strong, very mixed opinions about where this is going. About 4 minutes ago, I was dreading and agonizing over this being a potentially 25-minute game. That's not the case anymore. Not with 4 robos versus Yamato Cannon nukes. This is going to be a gong show, but it's one that I'm like buckled in and ready for. We have the Liberators finally starting to make their move. There's a lot of cannons that have been placed down here in a formation that I'm not really sure. It looks like he's built a spaceship or a comet perhaps out of his Nexus, and this is like the trails from behind. Sputnik. A tribute to Sputnik at the 3rd. This is a problem though. And a slow reaction time means the Flimicon doesn't pull the probes, but rallies the army up here instead. And the reality is he should have just pulled the probes away immediately. That's 10 workers dead. For a player who had a fairly low probe count to begin with, that's going to sting for a Flimicon. The nice thing for him though is that he was mining out of the main base. So the most precious resource up here right now is the gas more than anything else. So losing that was not devastating, but certainly frustrating for him, I'm sure. But if it's not broken, don't fix it. And Warcraft's going to follow up with more Liberators moving into Medivacs. He has very low production, and he's been pretty regularly supply blocked. And I'm not going to say that he had almost 4,000 minerals there, but Warcraft had almost 4,000 minerals there for a second. I think there's a lot that our Terran player could really clean up about their playstyle. Because honestly, this isn't like a bad idea where he's going with the game. But this really is reminding me of some of my play in terms of like the stuff that I've tried to work out of my play. Tunnel vision on both sides has definitely been a problem. We saw this earlier with the Flimicon. Like he took a pretty good fight at the natural, but then didn't macro because he was only focused on over here. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that for Warcraft. Like the too much attention is being spent on things like Liberators, so not enough attention is being spent on building like a third or fourth CC, or most importantly, taking a third base, because the main is pretty much mined out at this stage of the game. And Flimicon, even if he doesn't take a good fight with any of these fights, he's gonna have money, he's gonna have income, and he's just gonna have units. So he can take terrible engagements, but still end up victorious just because he's gonna have money to throw at his opponent. I do love that there's 4 robos, but only 2 of them are being used because it's too expensive, and he's possibly facing supply block too. But he's got extended thermal lance. He's managed to take 1 of every upgrade. I mentioned for the weapon upgrades earlier too, they really do benefit Liberators, or excuse me, Colossus. I'm obviously fixated here on the Liberator. They benefit Colossus quite a bit. And I just feel like a Flimicon's army, it's so powerful in terms of it's like a tier 2, not stuck on tier 1 army. Oh my god, here it comes. Oh my god. The Ghost is in the medevac. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen,
The Ghost is in the medevac.
and there is a nuke. Wait. Yes, there's a nuke queued up and it's ready to go. And a Flimicon has just moved out with his army. So if that nuke does come, and I believe it shall, righteously purge the Protoss. If he can unload it from the medevac. Took 2 tries. There's the nuke. But there, before a nuke go-y, and as the Colossus move forward, these Stalkers actually need to deal with the Liberator. The Immortals will deal with the Marauders and the tanks. The Colossus will clean up everything on the ground, but nothing else here shoots up. So 2 Liberators are going to take on the entirety of the army. Meanwhile, just barely missing the nuke. That Ghost has 14 kills. It would be a disservice not to rewind and watch this bad boy land. So 1 second, guys. Well, if Flimicon's army gets destroyed on the other side of the field, his probe line is about to get absolutely annihilated back at home. Here we go. He was so close with the Ghost, he actually nuked himself a little bit there. Oops. But anyways, the Colossus walked through the Liberators, so, you know, because reasons. Warcraft is floating 5,000 minerals and producing nothing right now, nor is he repairing. I believe he's focused on his Ghost. Again, tunnel vision being his worst enemy. Loses the command center. I repeat, he loses his command center, not to mention the many SCVs that were mining from it. And these 4 Colossus have no right destroying this game the way they are. Warcraft is so fixated on this 1 Liberator back at home, though. I feel like for a Flimicon, just warp in some Stalkers. Yeah, there we go. Still doesn't pull the probes. So, despite doing tremendous damage on the other side of the map, oh no, the Liberators have chosen to use their anti-air attack instead of their anti-ground attack. Now look, it doesn't take Dora the Explorer to explain this one, but these hit for like 5 damage times 2 opposed to 70 damage times 1. So, while it is technically working, it is also working the slowest it possibly could at removing the Colossus. And I mean, they splash. You gotta factor that in too. Let's not forget that, I guess. Meanwhile, back at home for Flimicon, he might not have tons of money coming, but he's got production working. You know, 3 Colossus coming out. He's still gonna struggle, you know, with Liberators and now Vikings too. Colossus aren't really gonna be the answer for this game. I feel like at this point, it really could just be mass Blink Stalker that wins this game. Yeah, the Liberators really could have, should have, would have dealt with the Colossus a bit better. Warcraft has obviously, again, been a bit of a victim of tunnel vision, but you know what? Again, if Flimicon's spending his money, Warcraft is not, and for that reason alone, I'm feeling very good about our Protoss player. The command center could be lifted to the 3rd, but funny enough, and ironically enough, minerals aren't the problem right now. It's gas more than anything else. Oh, Hisakata tracking and building armor. It's 2 upgrades that benefit nothing. If you guys don't know what Hisakata tracking does, let me tell you. It gives +1 range to missile turrets, Okay, there are none. It gives +1 range to a planetary fortress. Okay, there's none. And it gives +1 range to auto turrets from a Raven, which there are none. But for some reason, there are going to be up to possibly 3 nukes queued up at any given time for the current 0 ghosts in play. None are being produced either, because he has no gas for any of this. Warcraft has not planned ahead very well in this game. Now, building armor, I will say, will at least benefit everything. You know, everything's going to get +2 armor. It's going to take that extra shot from a Colossus to kill the missile turrets that don't exist. And I got nothing. Warcraft, I'm sorry, dude. You just suck, dude. Okay, I'm not trying to dump on this person too much, but realistically, there's a lot of things for them to work on. A Flimicon, though, I gotta give some credit, not just because Jack's the birthday boy, but while things have been a little wonky and questionable in terms of production, he has been continually producing through this game. He's been continuing to produce Stalkers, and I think everybody who coaches StarCraft can agree this guy is actually on the road to improving. This is one of the most difficult things to drill into players who are newer at the game. Is like, just keep making units. And you can see that through this game, the contrast being of Flimicon versus Warcraft, right? This guy has been constantly supply blocked. He's been constantly not producing. He doesn't have enough structures to produce. A coach would go crazy trying to get this guy to the point where Flimicon's currently at. So I gotta give this guy credit where it's due. He's making the right moves. He just has to refine those moves and I think play a little bit better on counters. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have anything that shoots out, 2 Liberators can still kill everything. But I don't think the Colossus will be the play here. The Vikings will take down the Colossus. There's no question about that. We finally have missile turrets coming down. And for those who don't know, Colossus are actually so tall that they do technically count as air units as well as ground units. So it does mean the missile turrets will shoot the Colossus at 8 range. But the Colossus, I remind you guys, have 9 range. So realistically, you shouldn't see missile turrets shooting Colossus. But going off of how this game has gone so far, I wouldn't count that out. Oh, my man! A Flimicon. He's a little supply blocked at 133, but he's taken a 4th base. This is huge. This is huge. This is macro, baby. So he takes his 4th base. His army supply is 90 to the opponent's 43. But if he walks in through this choke, it's very possible he loses another fight. If a Flimicon were to instead approach from the north side, you would totally see him just wipe the floor with this game. It'd be just a move. You could have your grandma at the keyboard and be like, Grandma, hit F2 and hit A. No, don't open your emails. Hit F2. No, not your emails. Hit F2 and then A and then left click anywhere on the map, Grandma. And then she would win the game for you from a Flimicon's point of view. But it's only if the army approaches from the top side. This is a man who loves his production structures. 4 Stargates are coming down. And he may actually need these 4 Stargates, funny enough, because now we have battle cruisers and things coming out. But just to be clear, oh my god. He's going for +1 weapons. He has ghosts. That's it. That 1 ghost is the only thing that would benefit from this. Oh no. Anyways, look, ghosts and battle cruisers and perhaps many good things are, again, all good intentions at a Warcraft, but they come a little too late and off of too few bases. Whereas for a Flimicon, I really believe that with these Void Rays coming into play, it's not even going to be a problem. A battle cruiser is an early game harass unit or late game unit if used correctly, but it's definitely not for this situation thing, because we're at this point where just Stalkers alone would defeat a battle cruiser. Remember, Stalkers deal bonus damage to armored, and while battle cruisers are hella armored units, highest base armor in the game, it's still 20 damage a shot. These Stalkers are just going to rip right through that. But I actually don't mind this. The missile turrets make sense for if there were things like warp prisms to be a threat. It is the scattered desperation that comes, I think, as a result of not having production. So if I was talking to Mr. Warcraft here, the first thing I would say is, like, instead of building 15 missile turrets, build 4 extra barracks, right? Like, Marauder production, Marine production, just having units on the field. Because while missile turrets are inherently not bad structures, and there's no pro player who will ever tell you a missile turret's a bad thing, the reality is they can't move. They are stuck at home. They are units that will only be available here and never be able to be used across the field, which means you can never take them across to help you in a battle. And this is kind of the rule for defensive structures in general. I think every player out there would love to go for defensive structures similar to what we've seen Warcraft do, but unfortunately these won't be able to ever move out of the base. They won't be able to help with anything, so they are ultimately a bit wasteful in that regard. But because this appears to be something akin to a holdout challenge, I'm going to see how long Warcraft can survive. That's not suspicious. I don't know what he saw, but oh no, Flimika, not again, not again. He's approaching. No, the choke is your worst enemy. I think he's just gonna overwhelm though. Like, this is a numbers game, right? This is way too many stalkers at 29. Not even blinking it. The defensive nuke. Oh no, the ghost died. No, that was gonna be the sickest defensive nuke in history. But yeah, as predicted, the stalkers are just kind of on A-move territory. And I think this is where the game probably comes to a close. Oh, he built a defensive planetary. He's a literal god. You know what? I take back everything mean I said about Warcraft in this game. This guy is an actual gaming warlord, okay? We just didn't know it. It's too late, though. Oh, that's it. I guess that's the end of the replay. Oh, that's weird. Just came to an abrupt end with no GG or score screen. Well, Jack, happy birthday, man. You are actually a kick-ass Protoss player, and I hope you can work on your macro and become even better one day. You got to get so good that your friends don't want to play with you. That's the goal. All right, man. GG. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.